The Alexander Romance. 1. After they had determined the size of the earth and the sea and counted the stars of the sky, the wise men of the Egyptians imparted to the whole world power, the discovery and disposition of words, and the knowledge of practical skills. For it is said that the last king of Egypt, Next-Nebo, after whom the kingdom fell from glory, conquered all men by magic sorcery. Even the natural elements obeyed him. For if ever a marauding horde rose against him, he did not work at machines of warfare, stockpile arms, prepare man-killing iron weapons, nor did he proffer ingenious devices. Rather, he went to his palace alone, took a basin, and, isolating himself, worked the sorcery of the basin. He poured spring water into his basin, and with his hands created ships and men from wax, and set the men upon the ships and put them into the basin, and the men came to life. And he, Next-Nebo, took an ebony staff, and in his hand, and by incantation, invoked the gods of the earth and the spirits of the sky, and in this fashion he baptized the ships which were in the basin. As they were being baptized, the ships which were coming against them by sea from their enemies were destroyed, and because of the masterful magic power of this man, his kingdom was at peace. 2. After much time had passed, certain men who are called explorators by the Romans had scouts by the Armenians, came to Next-Nebo and reported that a horde of soldiers had arrived. For the commander came to him and said, "Great king, set aside the festivities of peace and turn to war, for there is a great assemblage at hand. For not one nation comes upon us but many, the Indians, Coanians, Cornians, Oxydarchinians, Iberians, Conians, Lelapians, and Bomtyrenians, Argives, Azinians, and the Lucanians. And all the numberless nations that live in the east have reached Egypt with great armies. Recall the 2 Homeric verses, "It is not fit nor proper that the wise man, to whom the people and so many cares have been entrusted, remain at sleep the whole night." 3. And after the commander said this, Next-Nebo smiled a while, and he said, "You spoke as was proper, which is fine. You are faithfully keeping your trust. However, you have spoken timorously and not as a soldier. For strength lies not in numbers, but in the compulsion of desire. For one lion has caught many deer, and one wolf has harassed many flocks of sheep. So then go with the soldiers assembled under your command and stand at your assigned watch. For with one word I shall sink the barbarous hordes of countless nations in the waves of the sea." 4. Having said this, he dismissed the commander and got up and went into the palace. He ordered all those within to leave. When he had isolated himself, he brought in the basin and sat down, and once again he performed the same act, staring into the basin. 2. He saw the gods of the Egyptians, and they were leading the ships of the oncoming enemies from the barbarous nations. He was a man who was accustomed to being among and speaking with the gods magically through this sorcerer's skill. And upon learning that the kingdom of the Egyptians had come to an end, he filled his belt with much gold and silver and shaved his hair and his beard. Having disguised himself, he fled away, without anyone's knowing, through Pelusium, and after traveling through many lands, came to the Macedonian city of Pella, and clad in flaxen cloth. He sat there practicing astrology as an Egyptian prophet, for he was really so skilled. 5. And when he found not to be in the city, the Egyptians beseeched their god and asked him what had become of the king. And he who was God in the underworld of Synopsis delivered an oracle, speaking in this fashion: "That king of yours who fled will come again into Egypt, not having aged but rejuvenated. He will subdue your enemies, the Persians." And when they had been given such an oracle by their gods, they sought to learn what these utterances could in fact mean, and they wrote them upon the pedestal beneath the statue of Next-Nebo. 6. And in Macedonian, Next-Nebo became so famous to all by examining the natural order, that even the Queen Olympias was to come and question him. for it happened in the time when Philip had left and gone to war. She ordered that the man be brought in to her for the examination of her affairs, and gladly coming in to see Olympias, at her express wish, he stood stiffly before the queen without bowing. For he was pleasure, mad for woman. He extended his hand and said, Rejoice and be glad. Thou queen of the Macedonians, he who was formerly the Lord did not think it fit to say, Lady. And Olympias replied, My joyful greetings upon you too, brave one. Come, be seated. 7. And when he had gone and sat down, she said to him, Are you the learned astrologer, Nectanebos, renowned in every city? Supposedly, those who have interrogated you have learned every truth from you. By doing what kind of scientific study do you recount the truth? And he said, Queen, many are the researchers' ways of examining, and there are dream tellers, omen solvers, dream judges, the seers of Ammon, basin gazers, birth readers, fortune tellers, fate tellers, who are called Magi, and in their power vest all scientific matters. And having said this, he looked sharply at Olympias, for he was smitten with lustful desire. Olympias, the queen said, Why did you stand stiffly upon seeing me? He answered, Royal lady, I remembered the oracle once made by my gods that I am to consult with the queen and investigate her affairs. And what I learned from their responses is true. So now, say what you wish. And taking his hand out from beneath his garment, he showed a tablet which no word nor effort can describe. For it was made of gold and ivory and showed 7 stars, the ethereal astrologer, Aramazes, a sun of icy crystal, a moon of amaranthine, an Aries of hematite, an emerald Hermes, an Aphrodite of sapphire, and a Cronus of serpentine, and the horoscope was made of white marble. 9. Olympias was amazed at the complex object and at the beautiful appearance of the stars. She came close to him and sat down and ordered all who were within to go out. She said to him, Examine my birth and Philip's, for it is rumored that when he comes back from war, he is going to put me aside and take another wife. And he told her, Set down your and Philip's birth sign. And she asked, What is this you are doing? Nectanebos sat down, also his own birth sign next to Olympias, and making his examination said, The rumor you have heard is not false. Yes, that is in fact destined for you. But as an Egyptian prophet, I am able to help you, so that you will not be put aside by him, and even if you are, you shall find the one who shall avenge you. And Olympias said, Is that true? And he replied, According to what you have presented me, you are destined to mate with an earthly god and to conceive from him. And after conceiving, to give birth and to nurse, and to have this child as your avenger of the wrongs which will come to you from Philip. With which god? Asked Olympias. And he replied, With the god of Libyans, Ammon. Olympias went on, How tall is he? Is he young or middle-aged? And what is his physical appearance? And he said, He is white-haired and has the horns of a ram above his jaws. Now then prepare yourself as a queen and a woman, for you shall see a dream concerning this, and the god mated with you. And Olympias replied, If I see the dream, I shall revere you not as man, but as God. 10. Nectanebos went forth from the palace and quickly picked and gathered a plant which he knew suitable for provoking dreams. And having rapidly done this, he made a female body of wax and wrote on the figure Olympias' name. Then he made a bed of wax and put it on the statue he had made of Olympias. He lit a fire and poured thereon the broth of the plant, saying over it the vows suited for the doings, until the spirits appeared to Olympias. For he saw from the signs there Ammon united with her. And he rose and said, My lady, you have conceived for me a boy child, who shall be your avenger. 11. And when Olympias awoke from her sleep, she was amazed at the learned diviner. And she said, Ooh, you saw the dream and the god that you told me about. And now I wish to be united with him. Now let this be your concern. You should notify me at whatever hour he would mate with me, so that I might be found ready, most ready for the bridegroom. And he said, First of all, my lady, what you saw was a dream. But that very one who was the god in the dream is coming to unite with you. Allow me to sleep near you in the room, so that you not be afraid when the god is upon you. And she said, "You have spoken wisely, prophets. I shall give you access to my room, and if I have experienced the mating and conceive, I shall greatly honor you as infallible seer, and I shall receive you as though you were the father of the child." Nectanebo said, "The first harbinger of the God who is coming to you is this. When you go inside and sit in your room, you shall see a serpent come slithering to you. You are to order those who are there to leave. Do not extinguish the light of the lamps. Go and recline on the couch and cover your face. Once again you shall see the God whom you saw come to you in your dreams." Having thus spoken, he left.